Hi everyone, it's Raina. So this video is for those people who are involved in the combination of Aries and Gemini. This can be either sun or moon on either one's parts between the two of you. And this is one of those matches that is good on paper. But I have to state with all of these is that even if something is considered a good match, or you read it in a book or saw it online, that Aries and Gemini people are going to just get along famously, it's not necessarily the case for every single last one of you. Sometimes, and I don't even want to talk about astrology, but there might be astrological things that really are like deal breakers that have nothing to do with the sun or moon. Might be like a Venus sign or something like that, or Mars. However, I'm not one of those people that just looks at everything based on astrology. I will just say temperamentally, or if one person has come from an environment that is quite traumatic, it doesn't matter what sign they are, they may have major trust issues, and it may be hard for them to give anybody a chance. And so that can be unfortunate in that sense, because they may be very gun shy about getting involved, even if they really care for somebody or to commit to them. So what we're looking at here is Aries, a cardinal fire sign, and Gemini, a mutable air sign. Fire and air get along really well. There was a man, I remember there was this man that I became friends with, and this was when I was 19. He was quite a great deal older than I was, and I'm a Libra, and he was, I said I'm a Libra, I'm a Sag, and he was a Libra, and he said to me, one of the first things he said to me was, air feeds fire, and I was like, wow, that's like totally cool. And we became friends. And this is a similar situation. So the air sign will feed that fire and make the fire sign person even more excited because of this affinity. And you may have noticed this if you're the Aries person, you may have noticed that this happens to you with Librans or with Aquarians, that you just have this wonderful rapport with them, and that they're always teaching you things, and that you feel this sense of enrichment from that connection, because you may have wonderful conversations. And one thing that I think is really important to note, now everybody knows that Gemini is highly intelligent and very clever. There's a difference, between intelligence. You can be really intelligent and be boring as F, you can be completely an egghead, and yet you're really, really smart. But you just don't have any wit about you. You're not a witty person. A Gemini person usually is very amusing, witty. They just are very personable, and yet people sometimes don't realize that Aries is highly intelligent. Fire signs are very intelligent too, but with Aries, because there's such great physicality, they may be seen as more of an active person than an intelligent person. We usually think of the active people as more athletic, the people who like to do a lot of physical things, maybe play sports or work out, what have you, and that the people that are kind of nerdy, they're the ones that are always reading and stuff like that. But sometimes you can get both, and that's where it gets a little bit confusing, because nobody expects those types of people to have a brain in their heads, and yet they do. So Aries might, and I think sometimes Aries people, when they're looking for relationships, they over, I don't know, but I wouldn't say emphasize, but they may be more interested in, hey, is that person attractive to me? I mean, am I physically attracted to this person? Rather than, can we have long conversations that are stimulating? And once the Aries person finds out that, hell yeah, I mean, the two of them can be talking for long periods of time, it may be quite exciting to the Aries person because now they have found somebody who really is the whole package. One thing that I want to say is I'm probably dating myself, although I was a kid when Warren Beatty was considered like the stud of, the universe, and like the Brad Pitt of the mid-70s. And just even saying Brad Pitt in the same sentence, it just seems sacrilegious. But so Warren Beatty, was known as a ladies' man. I mean, it was like synonymous with being a player and stuff like that. I don't know when he married Annette Bening, who happens to be a Gemini, but she actually tamed him. And now he might have been a lot older, so he may have gotten his wild oats all taken care of by then. But yeah, I mean, she's known as the person who was able to, keep him under wraps, and I haven't heard from him since, pretty much. I mean, so I'm sure he's quite up there in age right now, but still, I mean, it's just amazing. And of course, his sister is Shirley MacLaine, so there you go. So, and she's up there too. So yeah, he's got to be pretty advanced in age at this point. But yeah, so this combination can be very good for that. And I believe, without knowing anything about it, that there's probably something along those lines where he was, doing his thing and having his fun, but maybe eventually it got a little bit empty and he was able to find the perfect person for him, which happened to be Annette Bening. And I hope they're still together because I'll be really embarrassed if I find out that they finally split up. I don't think so, though. So another thing that the two of you are going to appreciate together is the idea of freedom. And this is kind of one of those words that means different things to different people. Some people don't feel not free in a relationship, but they might feel not free if they have to work for somebody else. Everybody has their own definition, but just in general, both Aries and Gemini like the idea of feeling like their lives are their own and that they don't really have to answer to anyone. But this can also include a significant other. And you both may be the type that resents somebody trying to tell you what to do, where to go. And so the two of you may find that this is the kind of relationship that really works well because you both can give each other space. Some people, if you are to, I can't wait till I do Cancer and Aries. That'll be a hoot. Because if an Aries person tells a Cancer person, look, I just need some space. I'm going to just hang out with my friends today, or I'm going to just go myself out and do something, the Cancer person would probably pitch a fit. I'm not going to lie to you. Because they'd feel threatened, they'd feel insulted. Why don't you like being around me? They don't understand that concept of space. And I was going to say irony, but I'm not sure that's the proper term for it. But it's funny because the more that both people appreciate this idea of freedom, the less they actually have to exercise it. You always want freedom from people that are so like up in your Kool-Aid. I'm kind of in a silly mood, but you know what I mean, who are just always like, where you feel oppressive. And if somebody is like totally letting you have your own space, you don't feel like you're losing anything by hanging around them, because they're giving you space, and even when you're together, you feel the spaciousness. Another thing too is being adventurous. Both of these signs are adventurous, and I could imagine the two of you traveling while together, maybe going on hikes, camping. Aries and Gemini are two signs that are not, I do not consider pretentious signs, more down to earth for non-earth signs. Although, Aries is the first fire sign, Gemini is the first air sign. I will say that Gemini might not be outdoorsy sometimes, and Aries might be more like that. And not to say, the earth signs are the ones that you would assume are outdoorsy because earth, But Gemini can be, there might be Geminis that prefer being in libraries, in indoors, universities, and may not really be into nature to that level. I do feel, though, that because of the proximity from Gemini to Taurus, that there is a possibility that they may have inner planets in Taurus and make them much more likely to do it. But definitely Gemini is like a moth, where it's always moving. Aries, you are very physical. So you probably enjoy being outdoors because sometimes there's a challenge if you're trying to climb, you might like compete against yourself for your personal best when it comes to hikes and whatever it is. And even just traveling. I think even going to other countries and learning about other cultures would be something that both of you would like for your own reasons. So what are some of the downsides? I really don't have many, but one of them is both of you are like big kids. So, when you have two people that are masculine signs, it's kind of like being very good about the bigger picture, but not necessarily the little details in life, such as, paying bills, mailing things, doing the little things that you have to do. And because you both may have similar qualities, you don't necessarily, it's not like one person is going to be the more responsible one. Although that does happen, even if the people are of the same sign and they are supposed to be irresponsible. There's usually one person that has more of those qualities and takes charge of that. So it's not that that both of you are doomed to not be able to function in your life because of these things, but it's just that sometimes when people have certain things in common, it can be good for the things that you have in common, but then some of the weaknesses you may have in common as well. So being able to, and this goes back to freedom too, because sometimes people feel that all of these things are keeping them from their freedom, having to pay bills, having to take care of children. I mean, both of you may put off having children simply because you don't want to have to be responsible for somebody else and then end up not doing it at all. And I did put down can't commit. So whether it's not being able to fully commit to one another, or if it has to do more with, having children or something that really is seriously a permanent commitment, regardless of how somebody feels about it, they can't decide that they don't want to do it. So that can limit, how far the relationship goes in some cases, because one or both people are adverse to committing because they love their freedom so much. So, in any case, I think overall this is a good match. And so if you're in it, I hope that some of those things I mentioned resonated with you. If you'd like a relationship reading where I do this during the reading and I look at, but it's more than that, because you're looking at the other person's aspects in their chart, their Venus, Mars, all that good stuff. The link to my website is below. Thanks for listening. Take care. Bye.